was reaching. And this is one of my core values that I'm really passionate about, because I have pain in my life. I have storms in my life, but I have an anchor in my life. And I can hang on to Jesus Christ no matter if my world falls apart or not. But every day, as we walk throughout the city, we pass people who have worse pains and worse storms going on, but they have no anchor to hang on to. And they're just being thrown around by the world. But we have the opportunity to go out and share the love of Jesus Christ with them and show them what it's like to have hope when everything falls apart. And that is what Christ has called us to do. Actually, the very last command he gave us was to go out into all of the world and tell them about what he's done for them, because he has paid the price and conquered death, hell, and the grave for us. So we're passionate about letting people know that there is hope. And one of the ways that we do that is through just being involved in our community, letting our community know that we're not here for us, we're here for them. And so we show that by one way is doing our Clemson Road cleanup. And we're going to be doing that coming up on the 29th. We're doing, or the 19th, I'm sorry, the 19th. We'll do it right after second service. We're going to meet up right outside here in the front yard, and we're just going to go. We have from Hardscrabble to Longtown, and we go out and we keep our country or keep our city clean. And they see us out there, and it shows that we're not just here for us. If you'd like to be involved with that, you can sign up for it online. You can get with me or just meet me after service next Sunday. I'll give you one of those amazing neon orange vests that really make your eyes pop. It goes with any outfit you wear. So, Hunter Orange matches everything. So you'll get one of those, and we'll just go out and we'll bless our community. So I look forward to having you guys with us. So if our ushers would come, we're going to continue to worship by the receiving of tithes and offerings. And the tithes and offering is what we use to reach our world for Christ. Vive has missions in all over the world, and so this is what supports them. So we appreciate you guys being a generous and giving church. But as you guys prepare for that, we're going to pray. So Father, thank you for everything that you've done for us. Thank you that you have come and given your Son to us. And I pray that as we give back to you out of the abundance you've given to us, I pray that you would use it to spread your glory around the world. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing second service? It's good to see you, good to be with you. Hey, before I get started, a couple things. I just want to thank everybody who blessed us last week. That caught Maggie and I quite off guard, especially first service, what you guys were up to. So we really appreciate you guys. We love you, and we thank you from the very bottom of our hearts. And secondly, I did this in first service, something I normally don't do, but I just wanted to shout out our tech team because they are running on a less crew than normal. But my guess is you haven't even noticed. So big shout out to them for doing a great job this morning. So today we are starting a new series called Truth or Dare. How many of you guys played that when you were growing up? Come on, let me see the hands. All right, this is participatory. All right, so I need a volunteer. I'm joking. But I love your willingness. Thank you. Now, if you think back at all the fun stuff that we did during that game, you remember the things that you actually talked about that you wouldn't normally have talked about when that truth question came up and the awkwardness that came with that? Or do you remember the dares? And you found out you were capable of doing some stuff that you didn't know you were capable of. Maybe some stuff you're not proud of now. I've got many stories, but I'm not going to share them with you. I'm just saying. But Truth and Dare was always a fun game, and it always got us outside of our comfort zone, right? Well, during this series, what we're going to do is I'm going to dare you to put some stuff and engage some stuff in your life that may be a little uncomfortable, or maybe it's something that you just need a little push and that little motivation to get it going in your life. And then also, we're going to talk about some truths that's going to stretch you and make you learn and maybe get a little uncomfortable, but it's going to be fun, and I hope it's something that this series just helps you to grow and be more intentional about some things in your life. So this morning, we're going to start off with a dare. But before I dare you to activate this thing in your life, let's just talk about the problem a little bit. Now, have you been guilty of what I've been guilty of before? Say you're going to do something, but then not follow through. Yep. That's a big deal, right? You say, hey, I'll hang out with you Friday. And then something better comes along and I don't show up, and it's like, hey, sorry, but not really, because this was way more cooler than hanging out with you. But we've all done that. Now, have you ever been on the other end of that, where somebody promised you something and then left you hanging? That can be painful. And, I'm going to share a story with you. And I'm going to be vague because I'm not calling anybody out. Okay, let me just say this before we go on with the service. Anything that I say today, I'm not calling anybody specifically out. I know sometimes people think, ooh, Pastor Chuck knows that I did this, and he's calling me out. No, I don't do that, okay? So don't think I'm calling you out specifically, but we're going to talk about this thing. So anyway, several years back, I had a friend hook me up with some bougie ticket, and I said that word, I'm getting in trouble with Maggie again. But I had a friend hook me up with some incredible tickets for a really cool event that was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And I was stoked out of my mind to be able to go to this thing. And it so happened it was going to fall on my birthday. Like dream come true. And not only did I get one ticket, I got 3 tickets. Now, because of the nature of the event, it's something that not everybody would have enjoyed. But I had 2 very close friends that really would enjoy this thing. So I invited them to go with me. And we were all excited about it and everything. And then, we just decided like the week before, hey, we'll just figure it out later when we'll leave and all that. Because it was all cool, right? We're just going to hop in the car and go. So the morning of the event came. My birthday came. And I texted my friends. I'm like, hey, what time you guys want to leave? We want to do dinner first, or are we just going to show up there, or what? And no response. I was like, okay. So let me send another text. Hey, guys, seriously, we need to figure out what time we're leaving. And then I got a text back from one of the guys. He said, hey, yeah, I'm not going to be able to make it. Sorry, bud. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, let's find out from my other friend. Texted him, didn't hear anything back. Called him, said, oh, yeah, that was today, wasn't it? Well, I kind of made other plans with my wife, and I'm not going to be able to go. This thing that I'd been looking forward to for weeks and months, this once-in-a-lifetime thing, all of a sudden my friends bailed on me. And I didn't even go. I was just so disappointed and so devastated that my friends left me hanging that I didn't even go. But you know what? I've been guilty of the same before, too. And my guess is that you may have done the same, where we commit to something, but then we don't honor what we say. Now, according to the Scientific American Journal, it says, this quote is just great because I think it cuts right to the core. It says, from a glance at the statistics, it's clear that millennials are commitment phobes compared with their parents and grandparents. Now, look around. A lot of us in here fit that age group. All right, 18 to the 34-ish area. And the rest of you aren't too far off from it, all right? We have an issue in our culture where we don't honor our commitments. We have an issue in our culture where we are at the point where we even refuse to make a commitment. And I think this is a problem. You've seen it just like I've seen it. Somebody will say, hey, I'll hang out with you on Tuesday. And then they just don't show up. Or, hey, I'll help you move. And then just at the last second, oh, well, I developed randomly out of nowhere this backache. I have no idea where it came from, but it just happened the day I said I was going to help you move. All right? You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, somebody says they promised to come through for you on something. And then you never hear from them again. We have a problem in our society with committing. And if you look at all of the statistics, it's not just the little things where we leave somebody hanging last minute. It's even in the big things. We've seen for years and years how the divorce rates have climbed up because we're not even able to commit to our spouse. But now what we're seeing is people who are not even willing to take that step in commitment to marriage. Where the people who refuse to even pop the question, that number is rising. Commitment is becoming a bigger and bigger problem in our society. In work, we change jobs like we change our underwear sometimes. I mean, it used to be the boss who would make you mad and you'd leave. It doesn't even take the boss anymore. You just get bored, or a coworker looks at you funny and you change jobs. So, hey, well, I don't feel like doing this anymore, so I'm going to go back to school and take out $50,000 in student loans and get another job because he looked at me funny on Tuesday. Okay? We have stopped committing to things. We've stopped seeing things through. And what I want to propose to you today is that we need to honor God and we need to honor people by following through with our commitments. That we need to be people of our word. Just because culture says it's okay to be flaky, it's okay to be flighty, it's okay to say something you don't mean, doesn't mean it's okay for you and I. Listen, if you're in here and you're a follower of Jesus, how does that make God look to others when we can't even follow through? What does that say about a God that we know is always trustworthy, always will follow through, always there for us? What are we telling people when they can't depend on us and we're followers of Him? Our commitment and our word matters. This morning, I want to dare you. I want to dare you to commit. I want to dare you to follow through. I want to dare you to make your word matter. So as we look at this, we're going to look at a story back way in the Old Testament, the book of Judges. And this story is a little heavy. I'm going to go ahead and warn you up front. But I want you to start wrestling with this idea. Does my word matter? Is what comes out of my mouth, does it carry any weight? Am I dependable? Am I a person of commitment? Start wrestling with that right now as we look at this. So we're going to look in Judges chapter 11, the story of Jephthah. Anybody ever heard of this story? See, Jephthah, there's a reason that you probably haven't heard of this story. So Jephthah, his dad was one of the leaders of the Israelites. And Jephthah was born out of an adultish relationship. His dad went out, slept with a prostitute, and then boom, here comes Jephthah. His brothers didn't take too kindly to that. And as he got older, they ended up kicking him out of the house because they didn't want their half-brother to get any of the inheritance. And the Bible says Jephthah went off into a different county, and he became a gang leader. The exact words that the NIV uses as he led scoundrels, okay? He's like a mob boss, and he was known all around for his ability to lead and to fight and be a mighty warrior. So here's this kid who was kicked out, become a man, and become the best-known gangster in all of ancient Israel. Now, why is that important? See, it came to pass that one of the enemies of Israel decided to come on the attack. And the Israelites, no matter what they do, they just had a hard time getting traction. They didn't have the leadership that they needed to be able to take on the enemy. So they went to Jephthah, and they said, hey, listen, we're sorry about what happened back then. We're sorry that we kicked you out and all that. But if maybe you would come back home and lead our army, we'll take you back in. And not only that, we'll even let you be our king. How does that sound? So, they lured him in. So he said, okay, you know what, I got this. So he gathers the army of Israel up and marches toward battle. And as he's about ready to engage the enemy, he stops and said, first, let me make a vow unto the Lord so that I can have his favor. And that's where we're going to pick up the story in Judges 11, verses 30 and 31. It says, and Jephthah made a vow to the Lord, if you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. So he makes this big vow, this big commitment, this big promise to the Lord. If you do this, I will do that. How many of you guys have ever done that? Usually right before tests back in college, right? Oh, Lord, I know I didn't study this at all, but if you will help me pass the exam, I promise I'll go to church on Sunday, Lord. I'll do it. I promise I will. Or maybe you've got a big issue going on in your life, and you just say, God, if you will help me with this, I promise I will stop doing that for the rest of my life. And we wheel and deal with God, right? So that's what Jephthah did right here, right before the battle. God, if you will give me victory, I'll sacrifice whatever comes out my front door first to meet me to you. Now, some of you guys can already smell trouble coming. How many of you guys have a dog? When you come back from being out of town for a while, doesn't that dog reach you at the door pretty fast and run out pretty fast? And you said, uh-oh, what's about to happen to the poodle? But let's keep on going. So after he makes his vow, the story goes on to talk about how Jephthah doesn't just win the battle. He devastates the enemy. He does not okay with just a win and driving them back. It says he leveled and totally decimated 20 of their cities. He didn't just win. He won big, real big. So he comes back home a hero. He comes back home in triumph. And now it's time to pay up. Let's pick back up in verse 34. When Jephthah returned to his home in Mizpah, who should come out to meet him but his daughter, dancing to the sound of timbrels? She was an only child. Except for her, he had neither son nor daughter. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and cried, "Oh no, my daughter, you have brought me down, and I am devastated. I have made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break." You go from the top of the world to the very lowest of lows with that. His only daughter is the one who greets him. Does anybody else feel the weight of that? It's painful to even think about that. He obviously didn't see that one coming. He did like you or I probably did. Thought the dog was going to be the first one out, or maybe his prize horse or goat or something like that. But to his utter horror, it's his only daughter. Now, what's also surprising is how she responds to this. Continuing in verse 36. It says, "My father," she replied, "you have given your word to the Lord. Do to me just as you promised, now that the Lord has avenged you of your enemies, the Ammonites. But grant me this one request," she said. "Give me 2 months to roam the hills and weep with my friends, because I will never marry." "You may go," he said. And he let her go for 2 months. She and her friends went into the hills and wept because she would never marry. After 2 months, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he had vowed, and she was a virgin. What a price to pay. What a price to pay to honor your word. Now, because of the way the language is in this, there's some scholars that believe that what he did was just commit her unto the Lord and to a life of celibacy, and he didn't actually sacrifice her. Others say, no, the language is pretty clear, he actually did it. But regardless of what really happened, Jephthah honored his word at a tremendous and painful cost. Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's what happened, all right? Now, in my opinion, if he carried it out all the way, he was in the wrong, because the law also said, do not sacrifice people. God was pretty clear about that. He needed some friends to kind of surround him and talk to him about the grace of God and all of that stuff, right? But regardless, that's what happened. And as we go into that story, and as we read through that story, and we hear that story, what's probably going through your mind is, don't do it. Don't do it. Dude, change your mind. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just whistle and pretend it never happened. Change your mind, dude. Find a loophole. That's what's going through our mind. But let me tell you a difference in our perspective and the people in this culture's perspective. See, you and I ask, why did he follow through with it? Why did he do it? Back then, they would have never asked why he did it. They would have asked, why did he make that vow? It's a difference in perspective. You see, back then, your word meant everything. If you committed to do something, if you said you were going to be there, if you said this or that, took an oath, made a vow, your word was everything. You did whatever it took. It didn't matter how you felt that day. It didn't matter what was going on. It didn't matter the circumstances. You honored your word. And what a price Jephthah paid for that. The people back then were shocked at the foolishness of what he committed to. But they understood that he had to honor the word that he gave. How many of us swear up and down this or that? How many of us swear we're going to do this? How many of us promise we're going to do that? And we give no second thought to breaking that promise, to breaking that vow. How many of us have no problem just standing somebody up? How many of us have no problem with changing the plans based on how we just feel that day? Say what you want about Jephthah. What he did, in my opinion, was wrong, especially when he made the vow in the first place. However, the one thing you can't say about him was that he wasn't a man of his word. Jephthah kept his commitment even though it hurt. Some of us really struggle right here. Some of us have a hard time with this because we don't know how to keep a commitment. It don't matter what it is. We don't know how to honor our word. And then some of us, we don't even know how to make a commitment, let alone keep it. We refuse to be committal about anything. We just wishy-washy. We just go with the way the wind blows. But this morning, what I want to propose to you is that if you're a follower of Jesus, you're marked by your word. If you're a follower of Jesus, you need to honor the people in your life by honoring your word. If you're a follower of Jesus, I'm proposing that when you honor your commitment, you're honoring God. Our word needs to matter. Our word needs to have weight. When we say something, it needs to be backed up with our action. So as we look at this just a little bit more today, let's look at some of the issues that we wrestle with today in our culture, today in our society, and why we have a hard time with this. So why don't we keep our commitments? The first thing, and I think this is a major issue, is that, in fact, we're overcommitted. We fill up every second of our lives with something. Whether you're single, whether you're married, maybe you have kids, it doesn't matter what life stage you're in. In general, we micro-program every moment of our life. And because we're so busy filling up our calendars, we double book. We overcommit. And we get to the end of the day and we just don't have anything left to give, and then we just start dropping off here, leaving this person hanging here. Because we've overcommitted our time. We've overcommitted our energy. And what's sad is a lot of the stuff that we've committed to, it's unimportant. It has no eternal value. We just fill our life up with unimportant routines just to stay busy, just to keep moving forward. And what's a shame, as we're filling our lives with all these important things just over and over and over, we're missing out on the opportunities that God has put in our life for us because we already committed to something else of no value. Ephesians 5:15 and 7 through 17 says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is." There's eternal value in people. God has given you opportunity after opportunity to fulfill the purpose that He's designed you for. But sometimes we're so overcommitted, we miss what God's put in our lives. Evaluate the things that you've committed to. Evaluate the things that you keep filling your calendar with. Is it of eternal importance? Is it something loving? Or is it just a waste of your time? If we're going to honor our word, if we're going to honor our commitment to people, we've got to have the availability to make the most of every opportunity. Be careful what you commit to. And when you commit, follow through. The next thing that we struggle when it comes to making commitments is better options come along. Anybody ever been given tickets to a football game? Anybody been given tickets for free this or that? And then you realize, oh, that game is when I told my parents I was going to go over to their house for lunch. Or that game is when I said I was going to go help serve at this event. Most of us don't even think twice because a better option came along. We're going to take the better option. Our word doesn't mean anything. So a better option comes along and we take it. Why? Because we're living for ourselves. We're always looking for the best opportunity for me. Maybe you promised your wife you were going to finish a project. Finally. And then your hunting buddy calls. There that one goes. Maybe you promised your kid you were going to take him to the park this Saturday. But you had a random person stop by at your house and you enjoyed a conversation on the porch and forgot about the commitment you made to your kid. We live with the fear of better options coming along. A lot of times we don't even want to commit because there might be something better. The hashtag FOMO, which has become popular, fear of more options. This generation lives by that. They don't want to commit because something better might come along. But in doing that, we're dishonoring the people in our lives by refusing to commit. Again and again and again, we just change plans on how we feel. We change plans regarding the new circumstances. We don't follow through. When somebody asks for your time, when somebody asks for your commitment, your first fear shouldn't be there might be better something that comes along. But you need to ask yourself, is it loving? Is it the right thing for me to commit my time to this person or for this cause? And if it is, you tell them yes, and you honor that word. If it's not, you tell them no. Don't commit to something that you're not going to follow through. Don't live in fear of regret. You see, you and I, our reward is in heaven. We're not going to be sitting in heaven one day saying, you know what? I never took the opportunity to see the Grand Canyon. But you know what? Shoot, I shouldn't have followed my word and came through for that person because I could have gone and did this or I could have done that. Heaven does not have regret. Let me tell you what has eternal impact. It's people. The people that you and I influence, that carries on into eternity. But the experiences that we have here on this earth don't. Don't live with the fear of regret because our reward is greater than any experience that we may have, than any better opportunity that may come along. Our reward is in heaven, and there's no regret in that. Let's live a life of commitment and honor people because their souls are eternal. And God has given us opportunities to love people. But we can't honor and love them if we don't honor our word to them. And then the last thing, we struggle to commit because we don't value our word. Our words mean nothing. And let me tell you what I mean by that. We have cheapened our language. For example, we say, I love pizza. I just love pizza. No, you don't. You enjoy the taste of pizza, but you wouldn't die for that slice of cheese pizza. You know what I'm saying? You don't love the pizza, but we've cheapened that word to mean nothing, something so trivial. Or you've heard it said, hey, I promise that was the best night ever. So you're telling me, you're giving me your undivided word that that experience was the best ever. Okay, cool. Or I promise this meal is the best you'll ever have. Okay, you're going to say something so heavy about food? What? Or, hey, honestly, it's like code word for, yep, here comes another lie. We have cheapened the meaning of our words. We don't say what we mean and mean what we say anymore because our words have been cheapened. We've got to stop devaluing the language that we use. Because let me be honest with you, and really honest and not like a cheapened honest. When you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you lied. When we don't follow through, when we promise something and commit to something and we don't do it, we lied to someone. We lied. We said we were going to do something and we didn't. We lied. Let's value the meaning of the words that come out of our mouth. Let's value what we say to other people. Let's not cheapen what we say because people are valuable. Now, I understand there's legit emergencies and stuff like that that comes on. That's not what I'm talking here. But let's say what we mean and mean what we say. In Numbers 30, verses 1 and 2, Moses said to the heads of the tribes of Israel, "This is what the Lord commands. When a man makes a vow to the Lord or takes an oath to obligate himself by a pledge, he must not break his word, but must do everything he said." Let's start valuing our word. Let's start valuing the commitments that we make to people. And let's live honorably by doing that. You see, when we live a life of commitment, when we live a life where we fulfill what we said, we're honoring people and we're honoring God himself. You see, here's what I'm getting at this morning. This is what I want you to understand. When we dare to honor commitments, we honor God. When we dare to follow through and do what we say, we're honoring God. We're bringing him glory. In Ecclesiastes 5:5, it says, "It is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. Do not let your mouth lead you into sin." Did you catch that last part? Do not let your mouth lead you into sin. We've got to start honoring our word. We've got to stop lying to people about what we're going to do. We've got to say what we mean and mean what we say. We've got to be careful what we commit to. A lot of times it's better just to say, "I can't commit to that right now," than to say, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it," without a second thought, and then put yourself in a bind. Don't put yourself in a position where you have to make that hard choice. Honor people enough to tell them no. Honor people enough to follow through with what you said, even though it may hurt. We've got to stop swearing up and down that we're going to do this. We've got to stop promising this, that, and another, and then not deliver. We've got to honor God and honor ourselves and honor others with the way we follow through with our words. You may be sitting there like, "Pastor Chuck, you don't understand. Like, I didn't honor that commitment because I was just so tired. I couldn't do it." Or, "Hey, Pastor Chuck, you just don't understand what's going on in my life." Or, "Pastor Chuck, you just don't get it. Why I can't honor everything I say." Psalms 15, 1 and 4. Check out what David says about that. It says, "Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent? Who may live on your holy mountain? The one who keeps an oath, even when it hurts, and does not change their mind." Even when it hurts. If you want to honor God, I'm sorry, it's going to hurt sometimes. But when we honor our word, it honors God. Even when it hurts. I think David should have added a tag along to that. It said honors their oath even when it's inconvenient. Even when there's better options that come along. Even when I don't want to. If you want to honor God, honor your word even when it hurts. Even when it's not convenient. Let me tell you, Jesus knew something about honoring commitment when it hurts. He was committed to do what it takes so that you and I can have life in him. And that meant that he hung on the cross, died a sinner's death in great pain and agony so that you and I can experience life. He went the distance. He honored his word. He honored his commitment for you even though it hurt. And if we're followers of him, we've got to start doing that in our life. We've got to start honoring what we say, even when it hurts. See, as we get ready to close out, we need to be marked by our commitments. Daring to honor our commitments honors God. We need to be committed to follow Jesus. We should be marked by our commitment to follow Jesus. There should be no question in our family, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods, who we follow, who we serve. We should be marked by that commitment. Do our words line up with that commitment? Do our actions line up? Do they know that we're serious about reaching people, about loving people, about being who God has called us to be? We need to be known for that commitment to follow Jesus. And that commitment demands a lot. It demands that we lay down our life to follow him. Are we committed enough to even know his word? We should be marked by that commitment to follow Christ in everything we do. We should be marked by our commitment to love others. We just spent 6 weeks talking about love. I'm not going to go deep into this because we went there. Do people know that you're committed to love people? Do they know that you're committed to be inconvenienced, to give up your time, to give up your energy because you consider others better than yourself? We should be marked by that commitment of love. I think we need to be marked by our commitment to honor commitment. We need to be marked by people knowing that our words mean something. Let me just talk to you about that. There's going to be a time where you're going to commit to something and something really does come up that's more important than what you committed to. That's going to happen. That's part of real life. Let me talk to you about how to honor that commitment still. Let's say, okay, I'm a big Star Wars fan. Okay, The Last Jedi is coming out, and I'm excited about seeing it. Let's say you are too, and you commit to go see this movie with a friend. And the Friday night is coming, and it's Friday morning. Your grandma calls, and grandma isn't doing well, but she wants to come see you. It could be your last opportunity to spend some time with grandma. But oh no, you've got a commitment to go see the movie. But how many of you guys know it's a lot more important to go see grandma? It's a lot more important. Let me tell you how to honor that person that you committed to go see the movie with. Let me tell you how to honor that commitment still. You go to that person and you say, hey, listen, I committed my time and I committed to do this with you. Let me explain what had come up. My grandma's coming into town. She's not doing well and wants to spend some time with me. Can I have that commitment back? Would you allow me to have that commitment back? See, we give people a gift when we commit to them. When we pledge our time and energy, we're giving them a gift. And just like anything that you give to somebody that you need back, you go to them and say, hey, I know that I said this, but this has come up and it's more important. Would you give it to me? Would you give it back? Let me tell you what that says. That says that that person is valuable enough for you to come and be honest with them. Honest with them. Not one of these flaky, hey, something came up. That's not honoring the commitment. That's not honoring the person. But you're clear and specific so they understand what's going on. And most people, they're not going to be a jerk about it. They're going to say, you know what, we can go Saturday night. It's all good. Maybe they're a jerk about it, and maybe it's time to cut that relationship. I don't know. All right? But honor the person when you have to. When you have to do something that's more important, honor them by going to them first and asking for that commitment back. People will be blown away if you start doing that. That's a loving thing to do, to honor them that way. Let's be marked by our commitment to commitment as well. Honoring when the plan has to change, but following through even when it hurts. Even when it hurts. James 5:12 says, above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear, not by heaven or by earth or anything else. All you need to say is a simple yes or no. Otherwise, you will be condemned. Would you guys stand with me this morning? Let's start being known for our commitment. Let's start being known as people who can say yes, and that yes means yes. Let's start being people that we're known for. When we say no, it means no. Let our yes be yes and our no be no. Let our word matter. When we start living a life that fulfills commitment, God can do great things through that. When John F. Kennedy stepped up and said, we're going to put a man on the moon, that was a big commitment. And with that great commitment and the great energy and effort, we put a man on the moon in that decade. That great achievement would not have happened, would not have been possible without honoring commitment. Every great sports team, there's a commitment to be better. There's a commitment to win. Every great achievement in your life takes great commitment. God wants to do something great in your life, but you have to start by honoring commitment. Let your yes be yes, let your no be no. I dare you this morning, be committed. I dare you to follow through. I dare you to honor God, to honor others by honoring your word and doing what it takes, even though it might hurt. Would you bow your head with me for just a moment? As we close this out this morning, I want to give you an opportunity. If you're here and maybe you haven't fully stepped into a relationship with Jesus, maybe you've been wavering back and forth on that commitment. Do I really want to follow Jesus? Maybe you got one foot in with Jesus and one foot still in a sinful life. This morning, I want to challenge you to go all in. Go all in and be committed to Jesus. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter where you've been. He's here and He wants to meet you. He wants to give you life into the full. But it takes a commitment. It takes a surrender to say, Jesus, my life is yours. That's commitment. I want to challenge you this morning. If you haven't done that, activate that in your life right now. If that's you, I'm not going to make you do anything weird, but I want to pray with you. Would you just raise your hand so I can pray with you this morning? Thank you. Thank you. I see your hand. Anyone else, you ready to take that step? Thank you. If you just raised your hand right now, I want you to pray this prayer right along with me. Make it your prayer in your heart. Jesus, I thank you so much for your love. I thank you that regardless of what I've done in my life, that you're still here. Your arms are still open for me. This morning, I want to commit my life to you. I admit I've done some bad things and I've sinned against you, but I ask you to come into my life, and I ask that you would forgive me. Lord, this morning, I ask that you would accept this commitment and give me the gift of your salvation. I thank you for your love, Jesus. Amen. Would you welcome them into the family this morning? You guys just made the best commitment of your life. Let me dare you one more time. Go out there, honor God, honor people, honor your commitments. Let's worship for just one more moment, and we'll see you in a second.
Have you come to the end of yourself? was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Bear your cross as we wait for the crown. Tell the world of the treasure we found.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us today. Let's go out this week and let's show the city of Columbia what true integrity looks like. Because we can show the love of Christ by showing people what it means to keep our commitments and being people of honor. So as you go out this week, don't forget to take some invite cards with you, just to invite people to Vive and let them know what God is doing here. And let's go out and let's show integrity and let's bring some people to life. Have a good week.